The voice of sharing Durian ASEAN.
Good morning, this is Arlene and you are listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Today we are going to kickstart our ASEAN breakfast call with more news from Southeast Asia. Together me and Gowri will analyze all these different news from all these for the 10 different ASEAN countries. First of all, we are going to start with Singapore. As reported by ZDNet, it's stated that Singapore unveils plans in push to become smart nation. So Singapore introduces various initiatives as part of its goal to become the world's first smart nation, including a smart nation operating system and a pilot trial at a designated residential building estate. So the initiative cut across infrastructure, software, service identified as necessary component to support a smart nation blueprint. This includes a need for continuing enhancement to the nationwide broadband network NBN and national wireless network wireless at XG. Minister for Communication and Information Yaakob Ibrahim said that Singapore has made good progress in laying the backbone infrastructure to prepare for big data and analytics, Internet of Things, among the things. What with its Intelligent Nation 2015 Master Plan? Oh, to me, that's a very good initiative. In fact, Singapore's President Tony Tan Keng Yam, he even have called for the need to tap new technologies to develop sustainable solutions that improve the lives of the local population. He said, "We will make Singapore a smart nation, enabling safer, cleaner, and greener urban living, more transportation options, better care for the elderly at home, and more responsive public service, and more opportunity for citizens' engagement." I think this is a very good initiative, to promote more sustainability and care for the elderly. Especially Singapore has become a more aging society for the future, in fact. And this Smart Nation is led by ICT regulator Infocom Development Authority, or IDA. One key rollout was the new Smart Nation platform, or SNP, built on three focus areas: connect, collect, and comprehend. The platform will provide an operating system that all public agencies can connect to. This will enable essential data captured and collected via sensors placed around Singapore to be anonymized, secured, and managed and shared. So for these data insights, it can also help local organizations to improve their business operations. Well, I personally believe Singapore must improve its communication infrastructure to support growing demands for mobile online connectivity. The same with other countries as well. And interestingly, one such initiative is the Heterogeneous Network, or HETNet, which is thought to facilitate more optimal use of wireless spectrum by enabling devices to switch between various types of wireless network and allowing users to roam seamlessly between different networks. And as I mentioned earlier, there will be a pilot trials, and the first one will be the Jurong Lake District, which will be the first test bed for the Smart Nation technology. So to me personally, I read other news sources from Singapore, and it seems like in other news reports, Singapore is also being chosen as the world's most investor-friendly nation as a city seat. And as the population and economy grow, and it has to provide more as Singapore's population and economy grow, it will provide a more solid foundation it will need to provide a more solid foundation on urban facilities. And talking about urban facilities, I think the Smart Nation Blueprint, or they call it the Intelligent Nation 2050 Master Plan, definitely would enhance these urban facilities and the need to sort of improve the connectivity between people in Singapore. And the Singapore government also, but at the same time, the Singapore government have to take a step back and reflect on the future of the people, because also recent surveys showed that Singapore workers are dissatisfied with their work. So long-term focus for nation to prosper should also include with an analysis on the socio-economic needs of the society. This should include the fulfilling of the Maslow pyramid of hierarchy of needs, and especially on the physiological needs of and self-actualization needs of society. And I mean, ever wonder, even country without this Smart Nation plan, for example, Bhutan, is also being seen as one of the most happiest society in the world. So to put it straight, you have to, of course, you need to fulfill the external needs of society, becoming a more smarter nation, a more effective and efficient society. But at the same time, you also need to fulfill the physiological needs and the internal needs of individuals in the society as well. Don't you agree, Gowri?
Yeah, I do agree. I definitely support this effort by Singapore to push for the efforts to become a smart nation. But at the same time, like you said, I came across the article as well that Singaporeans are unhappy and they're dissatisfied with their working environment and they're really stressed out and there's a lot of pressure on them. So I think that Singapore really should maybe slow down a little bit, like you mentioned earlier, and probably conduct a survey or just talk to the workers, see how they're dealing with the situation, instead of just trying to just move forward all the time and focusing on gaining a better reputation or even gaining more profits. I think at the end of the day, the workers' productivity is the most important one, because if they stop being efficient, then that will definitely, like you said, impact the long-term goal of Singapore.
Yeah, I think what the master plan should be is not just intelligent nation, but intelligent and happy nation. Even though happiness is subjective, because but at the same time, if you provide the environment for people to prosper and to be happy, I think it would definitely enhance the intelligent nation master plan. I mean, if you look at the list, they say that they want to enable safer, cleaner and greener urban living, more transportation, care for the elderly, as public service, better public service and all that. But at the same time, they don't really, focus a lot, so much on the individual themselves. So, to me, it's not a very comprehensive master plan yet.
Yeah, that's right. Because I think that providing a conducive environment for your workers should be one of the main focus in whatever plan that is. Instead of just trying to push to go forward. It's important to actually take care of the workers first, and like you said, make sure they're happy. Although happiness is a subjective thing, but I guess everyone has different ways of being happy. But then again, you want to provide a good, a lively environment for them to work in, so they're not too stressed out. And at the end of the day, they're happy being at the workplace instead of just waiting to get home.
That's true. That's definitely true. But also, talking about waiting to get home, Singapore is also one of the the countries in Southeast Asia where they stay in the office longer than they should be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they,
like us then.
They work longer hours, unfortunately. Anyway, from Singapore, we talk about politics in Myanmar. So NLD leader rejects Election Commission warning. National League for Democracy leader Do Aung San Suu Kyi has accused the Union Election Commission of bias and rejected its warning to modify her comments about the military.
So I think this thing came about when they told her that she was not actually eligible to actually stand for the elections, and then she started accusing the election commission of being biased because apparently the new article that is going to be passed will actually bar her from ever contesting for presidency. So
and the reason why she's barred, is it because the NLD wants to amend the Article 59F of the Constitution, which makes Do Aung San Suu Kyi ineligible to contest the presidency because members of her family are foreign citizens.
Yeah, that's
when
right.
she married a foreigner.
So speaking on the June 16, at the end of a 4-day visit to Nepal, Aung San Suu Kyi said the election commission is not the most neutral one in the world. It is not the work of the election commission to warn me or the other leaders of what we should say or what we should not say, she said in Kathmandu. And in its warning, the UEC also referred to Article 6 of the Political Parties Registration Law concerning the safeguarding of the Constitution and the oath that MPs take to uphold when they enter the parliament. And the NLD and the 88 Generation Student and Open Society Group are actually campaigning to amend Article 436 of the Constitution, which provides 25% of MPs to be appointed members of the military, giving them an effective veto over charter change, which requires support of more than 75% of the Union Parliament.
It's interesting. Myanmar is probably moving towards the steps of Thailand, although Thailand has the monarchy to legitimize the military, but for the Myanmar sake, I think the military should go out, all out. They shouldn't be in the parliament. We need the military definitely, but I don't think military should be a decision maker or a lawmaker in the parliament. They should be the one implementing or safeguarding the society, the nation.
And also, if they actually pass this Article 436, amend it, that will actually give 25% of MPs to be appointed members of the military itself.
And effectively, they couldn't pass any progressive laws if they need to. Move on to Malaysia now. Nazri spoke that Sabah kidnappings affecting tourism industry more than MH370. So recent kidnapping cases in Sabah have had more impact on the tourism industry than the disappearance of the MH370 jet lines in March.
So the Tourism and Culture Minister Datuk Seri Nazri Aziz told Parliament on Tuesday that a total of 76 flights to Kota Kinabalu from China were cancelled recently.
Wow, that's a lot of flights.
Yeah,
76.
And this is the shocking part. It seems that the countries such as United States, United Kingdom, and Germany have actually issued travel advisories to their nationals visiting Sabah. So they actually issue warnings to all the people in their country, telling them not to go to Sabah, which definitely cannot be a good thing.
It will definitely hurt the economy there. And Nazir further said that although the kidnappings occurred on the east coast of Sabah, they had an impact on the entire state.
And he also pointed out that there were 30,000 cancellations from China tourists this year, adding that the ministry also expected the number of tourists from China, especially from Beijing, to drop further next year.
And the ministries had increased campaigning in countries such as Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei, the Philippines, India, Bangladesh, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Australia, and New Zealand. So they realized that they do need tourists, so they are trying to find it from other countries instead.
Right, and also I guess this campaigning also probably include information on why Sabah is actually a safe place and is not as dangerous as people think it will be. But I think I can relate this to what happened in Thailand recently when the tourists started pulling out, started changing their plans from Australia. I think they get their mass of tourists, but this year the number of Australian tourists going there actually deteriorated, and the same thing is happening here now with Sabah. And I think that by just campaigning, it's probably not enough for people out there to know that Sabah is really safe and it's really okay for us to go there for a holiday.
But the kidnappings are really scary, partly because it's not a domestic crime. It's not something that the government can easily curb. It's something that is external. So you never know. Like these people could be from southern Philippines. I mean, they all look alike. And then at the end of the day, it's the safety of yourself that is more important. And of course, going to countries going to the state of Sabah, to me, it is safe. But to people who look like foreigner, of course, it might be at a higher risk for them.
And also, the language barrier is another thing, because when we go to Sabah, of course they can speak English and Malay as well, but a lot of the locals also have their own dialects. So I guess that is also another factor to consider, especially for someone outside of Malaysia to go there. I'm sure it's very intimidating as well.
Well, personally, I think Sabah is a safe place. Definitely everyone should go there. I mean, yesterday I was looking at the best beaches in Malaysia.
Okay.
In Southeast Asia, they have a list of really awesome beaches, and a few of them are from Sabah's beaches and islands. And one of it, of course, is Pulau Sipadan. So I definitely would encourage tourists to go to Sabah. Even I myself would want to go to Sabah after I look at all these beautiful islands and beaches.
Well, I've never been to Sabah myself, but yeah, I would love to go there.
It has a world class and one of the best in snorkeling and diving spots.
Okay. So let's move on to Indonesia now. So Indonesia candidates pledges confront budget constraints. Indonesia's two presidential candidates offered differing paths to generating growth and government revenue as their pledges to improve incomes, healthcare and education confront the reality of budget constraints.
And Jokowi said that he plans to improve regulations to attract investment that can help Southeast Asia's largest economy grow more than 7%. And ex-Army General Prabowo instead wants to minimize corruption within 5 years to recover funds. That's interesting. Someone from the military wants to, and from the era of Suharto wants to reduce corruption.
And the nation has also struggled to build roads, hospitals and schools with a law that caps the budget deficit at 3% of gross domestic product, and a fuel subsidy program that swells with the foreign exchange and oil price movements. So I think we reported yesterday about how the locals feel about these two candidates, that Prabowo has always come from an wealthy family, and he's actually from one of the elitist family in Indonesia itself, whereas Jokowi started out as a normal guy who worked his way up, and I think
But I'm quite impressed. He can actually talk about economy. I mean,
Jokowi?
Yeah, Jokowi.
Right.
I
think
quite
it's because
impressed with
he he started his own business and he worked from there. So I guess he is aware of the and probably most sensitive even because to the economy of the country, because he was actually trying to make it there by himself.
I mean, instead of saying that, I want to reduce corruption and all that, he said that, I want to improve the investment by improving the regulation. And to have this thought, I mean, to me, Indonesia's economy is huge, it's vast. It's not like in Malaysia or Singapore where it's something that is it can be easily regulated. And of course, I also see the pattern where people vote in and vote out of a leader is almost always because of bread and butter. It's always and the last leader, he didn't really have a good economic track record. And that's one of the reasons why people are starting to,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Indonesia is a very, very huge country. It is also spread over so many islands, so many little islands as well. So,
I mean, I think I think Indonesia is somehow following the steps of China in a way. They trying to sort of grow their economy, but I hope they don't exactly follow the step of China in a way that they have extreme capitalism happening at the other side of the their country, and then the other side of the country is more towards like
Right.
underdevelopment and also a lot of political oppression.
So speaking of that, this Singapore-based economist from the Bank of America Corp, Chua Hak Bin, also said that these two presidential candidates have to recognize and admit that there is actually a fiscal constraint, and they probably need another fuel price hike, or otherwise there won't be any fiscal room to maneuver and all these grand infrastructure spending plans and so on. So there are all these plans to, of course, modernize Indonesia even more, to build all this infrastructure for them. But I think, of course, he's right in this way when he said there has to be a balance there. You cannot just build all this big infrastructure, but the people are still poor.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
at the same time, if you start raising the prices, that's going to be another major problem
And
for
then you
them
have
as well.
that kangkong event in Malaysia. Exactly like what
Right.
happened in Malaysia. So the next one is we moved to Cambodia. So over 100,000 Cambodian migrant workers fled to Thailand.
The fearful crackdown of undocumented workers, thousands of Cambodian migrants clutching their children and towing their possessions in sacks, plastic bags, mailed into the train station.
And in fact, they crammed inside an old, orderly fashion, mostly nervous and solemn as they waited for the train that will take them back to Cambodia.
Yeah, so I think basically this for what you call migrant workers who are mostly undocumented, they started really getting scared of the military regime in Thailand. Although there was actually nothing, nobody actually said anything about the migrant workers having to go back to Cambodia. But these people just, for some reason, started developing that fear in them. Like, okay,
fear.
yeah, exactly. They're like, okay, Thailand is going through all this, and the military is getting more and more powerful. So what if they just wake up one day and realize that they want to kill all of us? And just that simple idea caused 100,000 Cambodian workers to actually flee back to their country.
But then that would be like a really it would not help Thai's economy in a way, because I mean, just like Malaysia, a lot of these countries in South Asia, they need migrant workers.
That is true. I think most of these Cambodian workers were actually in charge of all the little industries like agriculture, farming, and all. So I think you're right. It is bound to hurt the Thailand economy in a way. But then again, it wasn't Thailand who actually chased them away. It was their own. I wouldn't say irrational fear. It's probably irrational in a way, but they probably shouldn't have just acted so rashly, I think.
But anyway, illegal migration has been one of the junta's priority. So maybe it is a justified fear in a way that, you could end up being an illegal immigrant, even though you are a valid migrant worker.
Right, that's true.
So, I mean, when you are a migrant worker, usually your identity is very vulnerable. Yeah.
So let's move on to Malaysia. Back to Malaysia now. Reported by the Sun Daily that the police can actually intercept communications if there is illegal element. The Malaysian police are allowed to intercept any communication if they suspect illegal element. And Ministry Nancy Shukri said such interceptions of communication include intercepting, detaining, and even opening any package sent by post, intercept any message sent or received by telecommunication, or to intercept, listen, or record any conversation by telecommunication. So there have been no such incidents actually, especially involving politicians since 2009, I think.
This is a very interesting one. Police can intercept communication if there is illegal element, but how do you know if there's any illegal element? I mean, you can justify it for political mileage, towards, or you want to have, you want to go against, or you want to tap into your own opponent, your political opponent, then you would use this excuse to intercept communication.
I think you're right in that sense. It's very hard to justify such an accusation, I mean, how is there like a standard operating procedure that they would follow, or how would they actually when they accuse someone, like on what grounds do they want to charge you with saying that there is illegal element in this, and I want to find out how true is that. You cannot just...
And Malaysian police are well known for its misconducts.
Right, I mean...
So, especially, death in custody and, corruption and all that. So, I don't think the trust within the Malaysian police is that high to actually allow the Malaysian police to intercept communication if there's any suspicious illegal element.
And I think it also goes back to the people's freedom itself. I mean, their rights and their privacy. You cannot just start intercepting and start even like detaining, opening any package sent by post, or start reading everyone's text messages. I think it's a little crazy here, but we'll have to see how this one pans out, I guess.
So the next one, ASEAN needs the open market for engineers. In order to open up the ASEAN market for engineers in the region, issues surrounding professional mobility needs to be addressed. So, I mean, this is the last piece of the news. This was the point discussed during the retreat session for the ASEAN Federation of Engineering Organizations. According to Muhammad Yusof, Vice President of the Engineering Divisions of the Association of Engineers, Architects and Surveyors of Brunei. So in Brunei, they seems to be like, they want to see how the AFEO, and the Association for Engineers, Architects and Surveyors, can help to address the real issue of mobility. And in fact, they say that some of the issues affecting the profession's mobility are benchmarking and qualifications, are well as trade barriers such as work permits and taxation.
Yeah, and he also said that the true sense of mobility is when the engineer's qualification is actually recognized throughout the region, and that they are able to practice it anywhere so long as they follow the rules and regulations of individual member countries.
So I guess in a way, when it comes to ASEAN, they definitely need to sort of figure out how to increase the mobility, between nations without having to restrict them just because of some barriers on
and it's also good that they focus on engineers, because I think we Asians have a reputation where a lot of Asian guys tend to go for engineering. So instead of just focusing on each countries, I think it's very good that they are actually opening up as a whole, like he said, where the engineers can actually practice anywhere so long as they follow the basic ground rules.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all for our today's news. But when we return back, many interesting things that we want to discuss. And I hope that you enjoyed our Blast from the Grassroots and also ABC Dialogue until 10 o'clock.